Welcome to the Podkey Summary of Lexus. Today's story is really about how Lexus didn't just launch a car brand. It built a whole argument for a different kind of luxury. It starts with Toyota trying to make the world's best car, turns into a serious disruption of Mercedes and BMW in the US, and then keeps evolving through service, hybrids, SUVs, bold design, and a long-running effort to prove it could do performance too. And what makes it interesting is that Lexus has always been balancing a few identities at once. Toyota-rooted, but separate, comfort-first, but tech-heavy, and reliable in a category that usually sells itself on history and prestige. Lexus begins with one of those big corporate challenges that sounds almost mythic now. In 1983, Toyota chairman Eiji Toyota asked his engineers if they could build the world's best car, and that became the F1 project. This was not a casual side project. It involved about 60 designers, 1,400 engineers, 2,300 technicians, 450 prototypes, and more than $1 billion before the LS400 arrived in 1989. Toyota also figured out pretty quickly that if it wanted to go after Mercedes-Benz and BMW, a great car alone wouldn't be enough. The research told them luxury buyers expected a whole ecosystem, a separate brand, separate sales channels, and dealerships that felt different from a regular Toyota store. So Lexus was engineered as both a machine and an experience, especially for international markets. And for a while, that separation was literal. Lexus didn't even exist in Japan at first. Equivalent models were sold there under Toyota nameplates, until Lexus dealerships finally opened in Japan in 2005. When the LS400 landed in the US in 1989, it hit the luxury market like a very quiet thunderclap. It offered the things luxury buyers cared about most: quietness, quality, performance, fuel economy, and a price lower than comparable European rivals. Car and Driver rated it better than the more expensive Mercedes-Benz 420 SEL and BMW 735i in ride, handling, and performance, which was a huge credibility boost right out of the gate. The market reaction was real. BMW and Mercedes US sales reportedly fell 29% and 19%. And a big chunk of Lexus buyers, about 35%, were trading in Lincolns or Cadillacs. That's an important detail, because Lexus wasn't only stealing buyers from Europe, it was also giving American luxury customers a new exit ramp. One of the smartest moves Lexus made came from a problem, not a triumph. Early on, it recalled all 8,000 LS400s after just 2 customer complaints. Instead of making owners chase the fix, Lexus picked up the cars, repaired them, and returned them at no cost. That became one of those defining moments where a brand tells people what it is by how it handles inconvenience. From there, Lexus made after-sales treatment a core part of luxury, not a bonus feature. Dealerships leaned into hospitality with refreshment bars, cafes, boutiques, golf facilities, free car washes, and loaner vehicles, and staff were trained around the idea of treating each customer like a guest at home. It sounds simple, but in car retail, simple can feel almost revolutionary. That service mindset, paired with strong reliability, helped Lexus repeatedly top customer satisfaction and dependability rankings from groups like J.D. Power and Consumer Reports, and in big owner surveys in the UK too. For a young brand without old-world prestige, reliability and service became its own kind of prestige. And financially, Lexus wasn't chasing volume at all costs. Its pricing strategy focused more on margin, with fewer incentives than rivals, and analysts have estimated it delivered an outsized share of Toyota's US profits, despite smaller scale. Lexus also had a good instinct for where luxury buyers were headed. The RX 300, launched in 1998, helped define the luxury crossover category by aiming at suburban buyers who wanted something upscale and useful without needing serious off-road hardware. That formula worked so well, the RX eventually passed the ES sedan as Lexus's best-selling model. Then in 2005, Lexus pushed early into luxury hybrids with the RX 400h, described as the first luxury-branded production hybrid SUV. It kept expanding hybrid options across sedans and crossovers, and by March 2016, cumulative Lexus hybrid sales reached 1 million, with the RX 400h and RX 450h accounting for 335,000 of those deliveries. That gave Lexus a useful identity in the 2000s and 2010s. Premium, efficient, and a little more forward-looking than the old luxury script. And over time, the whole lineup tilted hard toward utility vehicles. By 2026, 9 of its 13 models were crossovers or SUVs, which says a lot about the market and also about where Lexus found its strongest footing. Another Lexus habit was using technology as visible evidence that it took refinement seriously. Over the years, that meant things like sandwich steel to cut cabin noise, the 8-speed automatic in the LS 460, infrared pedestrian detection, driver attention monitoring, LED headlamps, and hybrid regenerative braking. A lot of that fit the Lexus pitch perfectly. Smooth, advanced, quietly impressive. But the tech-first identity also created some friction. Its navigation systems drew criticism because they locked out some passenger inputs while the car was moving, even though voice controls and certain buttons still worked. And the remote touch controller, later followed by a touchpad, showed Lexus trying to make its interiors feel distinctive and futuristic. Some people appreciated the ambition. Other people probably just wanted the radio to stop acting like a desktop computer. That tension is very Lexus. The brand often chose novelty and a recognizable tech personality, even when the most intuitive control layout might have been the less memorable one. A deeper challenge for Lexus was always identity. European luxury brands could lean on heritage. Lexus couldn't, at least not in the same way. For years, analysts argued its reputation rested mainly on reliability and on being tied to Toyota, which created pressure to develop a look and story that felt distinct. The mid-2000s L finesse design language was one answer to that, with lower set grilles, fastback shapes, and those convex concave surface treatments meant to create a specifically Japanese visual identity. Then the redesigned 2013 GS introduced the spindle grille, and that became the face of modern Lexus. People did not all agree on it, which is usually a sign a brand has stopped being invisible. Some reviewers saw the styling as distinctive and culturally grounded. Others thought it was too aggressive or too tied to design trends that later spread across the industry anyway. In market terms, Lexus has been strongest in the United States and in parts of Asia, and much less dominant in Europe. That's partly about brand recognition, partly about dealer coverage, and partly about the sheer gravity of domestic loyalty around BMW, Mercedes, and Audi. In 2014, the LS trailed BMW, Mercedes, Audi, and Jaguar in European flagship sales, even though in some markets outside Europe, it ranks second only to the Mercedes S-Class. The US was the real growth engine early on. Lexus became America's top-selling premium import in 1991, and then led US luxury sales for 10 straight years before BMW ended that run in 2011. Global sales rose from 435,000 in the recession-hit year of 2008 to records of 518,000 in 2007, 582,000 in 2014, and 652,000 in 2015. But the numbers also underline a vulnerability. Lexus remains heavily tied to SUV demand and to North America. One last thread here is performance, because Lexus has spent a long time trying to show it can do more than serene competence. The F-Mark arrived with the ISF in 2007, and then the LFA supercar followed in 2009 with a price around $375,000. That was a very clear statement that Lexus wanted to challenge BMW M and Mercedes AMG instead of staying in the lane of comfort and reliability alone. Motorsport helped back that up with multiple Rolex Sports Car Series championships, 3 straight Daytona 24-hour wins from 2006 through 2008, and the 2023 IMSA GTD Pro Championship with Vasser Sullivan. Still, the tension never fully disappears. A lot of observers have traditionally seen Lexus products as more comfort-oriented and less engaging than the sharpest European rivals. So the performance push has always been about expanding credibility as much as winning lap time arguments. So the Lexus story isn't just that Toyota built a luxury brand. It's that it built one by redefining what luxury could mean. Less inherited mystique, more precision, service, calm, and increasingly crossovers. Whether that feels more appealing than the old European formula probably depends on what you want from a car. But it's hard to argue with how thoroughly Lexus changed the conversation. And honestly, turning reliability and good treatment into a luxury weapon was a pretty sharp move. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.